Hi everybody, my name is Jared Ripley and I will be talking about demolition safety today. So demolition is another phrase of saying construction in reverse. So obviously you have construction and demolition, and the processes that go through demolition is not just something that, oh, you wreck a building, but it is construction in reverse where you have to take these steps to follow through and safely proceed with demolition. So before you want to demo something, whether it's a building or commercial site, you want to have surveying. When we'll get in deeper into these things, removal of hazardous materials, a preparation plan, and safety measures. So these four things are super important when you are demoing any project because you want to safely do this and do this well. And just like construction, you have these methods to build the building, you have these methods to demo a building. And also safety concerns. Many are similar just as in construction. If you need PPE, you need to have fall protection if you're up high. You want to make sure that things are blocked off and areas are secure if someone is entering in that area. So we'll get into this deeper, but just to show how demolition is more than just knocking down a building, but you have to take processes to complete this well and safe. So first, when you are going and demoing a building, you want to make sure that your building is surveyed. An engineering survey is the best way to go about this. And you want this because you want to make sure that the structure is stable. Why would we want that? Okay, we're demoing a building. Why would we want the structure to be stable? Because if you're not tearing down the whole building, you want to make sure if you take out, say, a load-bearing wall or one of these walls here, that the whole building's not going to collapse on one of the workers or machines that are working on the building. So you want to make sure you have someone that has worked on the building before, or just a professional engineer to come in and survey, okay, where are the weak points? Where are the structural loads that are being on the building? And making sure that, nothing is going to happen unexpectedly. Now, if you're just knocking down the whole building, it's still important to get the survey so that you know where the building's going to fall and how much area that you need. Also, you want to make sure you survey where utilities are at. So whether that's gas, sewage, water, these things are very important to know where they're at, because if you knock down a part or if you break a sewer line, you're not going to know that was there. So that's why you want to survey those so that you're not causing any more harm to the workers on site or to people in the public, because if you break a water line or contaminate the water, that's going to affect everybody else in the city or where not. So you want to make sure that you survey, again, the utilities that are on this site. Also, surveying the civil area and knowing with weather potential hazards with that. So if it floods, okay, is the area or ground around the site going to erode and cause potential hazards with the building or with crew? Just knowing how the topography is laid out is very important, because it can affect how the building is going to come down and how the workers will work around that. So these three things are important to survey before you even start demolition to know what you're dealing with. The next is hazardous material. First, you want to have someone that knows how to remove hazardous material. So whether that's asbestos, chemical contamination, radioactive metals, these things are very important to have someone specialized in this. So making sure they come on site and check for if there are any hazardous materials, like asbestos. This is actually illegal now to put in any buildings, but previously, from 1950s to 70s and 80s, this was very heavily used. So there are many buildings, houses, and commercial buildings that still have asbestos. So in planning, you want to make sure that you have someone come in and check for these things, because asbestos, as you can see in this picture, causes cancer, lung disease, and it's not cool. Obviously, it's a terrible material that can affect people. So if you know already going in that that building has asbestos, then you can go in with respirator protection and know how to remove it properly. And also with chemical contamination and other metals, knowing how to remove it properly, and your plan of attack there. Also, utilities, sewage, gas. Okay, having someone know how to remove this properly rather than just going in there and cutting things up and destroying things can save someone's life and cut the cost of having to repair these lines or things like that. So it is very important to check for these hazardous materials before you start and knowing where that is and how to remove it properly. So preparation plan. This is one of the main things that you need to go in. And we've already kind of touched on some of these, and we'll get further into them. But location, structure, worker safety, which is dust, heat stress, noise, training, and flammable materials, and then cleanup. So these four things should be used in your plan before demolition, and we'll get into in depth in each one of these here. So location of demolition. This is very important. So as you can see in these two pictures, the top right is rural and the bottom left is in the city, obviously. The location of the demolition affects many aspects of how you will go about this process. So first, type of demolition. Okay, if you're in the city, okay, what type of demolition will you use? Probably not explosives, as there's many buildings around each other. There's potential for bystanders to get hurt. But if you're in the rural area like the top right and there's nothing around, it's fairly okay to use that. So knowing what kind of demolition, okay, is a wrecking ball better? Knowing what effects will be around these buildings is crucial in knowing your location. Debris. So if you're in the city, okay, you have to think, okay, where would debris fall? If there's pedestrians, where could they get hurt? Now, if you're in the rural, not such a big deal. Again, you want to make sure, though, you're always looking, okay, where would debris fall? Where could it affect others? Where could it affect other buildings? Collapsed area. So if you're destroying a full building, where is this building going to fall? Is it going to fall down? Is it going to fall towards this building? Is it going to fall towards this plot of land? So you want to make sure, okay, knowing the surrounding area, knowing your work site, because this is crucial for the safety of your workers, your equipment, and others in other buildings. So you can definitely, knowing your location, save money. Noise. If you're in the rural, not such a big deal. If you're in the city, okay, past 8 o'clock, there might be restrictions or zoning that says, no, you can't have this machinery going at that time. So just being mindful of those things. Pedestrians, again, like I said, are people walking around the site? Will they be near it if the building suddenly collapses? Barricades, making sure you're barricading your site off, and just, again, a better protection of your area so that no one gets injured and you can safely perform the demolition. Structure plan. So going in, again, kind of surveying, like I said previously, knowing where the failure of the building can go is important. If you're demoing just the inside, okay, you don't want the whole building to collapse. So if you knock out, again, like a load-bearing wall and everything collapses, that's crucial to know where the stuff is. In your plan of attack, okay, how am I going to go about demoing this building? Am I just going to take out the foundation right away, or am I going to go from top to bottom? It's very important to know this going in before you start demolition, because this affects how people will work and how safety measures will go about. Worker safety, probably one of the main important things about demolition. Okay, first, just like in any safety measure, training. You want to make sure you're training your workers in going and demoing this place. You might think, well, you're just knocking down a building, you don't need any training measures. No, this is just as much crucial as building a building. Again, PPE, fall protection, things like this, knowing your surroundings with equipment, how to operate equipment, is crucial for your workers to be safe. Dust exposure. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of concrete being destroyed, so silica can be in the air. You want to make sure that they have respirators, or yeah, making sure water is also on that concrete so that the dust doesn't get too much for the workers not being able to work there. Heat stress, making sure they're having fluids, and noise protection. Obviously, it's going to be loud. You're destroying a building, and if you have explosives, that's crucial to have noise protection there. And then flammable and hazard materials, knowing your surroundings. If there's asbestos there, okay, some people aren't fit to work in asbestos areas. Obviously, you have to have the proper equipment too to remove that. Yeah, so these are some of the main 5 ways to go about demolition safety with your workers. And just like this picture here, you see, yeah, the more you are safely working with your workers and they are safe, you save more money. So just going about this and having this plan and step before helps you save money on your site and when you're demoing. Cleanup. Something that is, yeah, kind of common sense, but not always thought about in demolition. Just like in construction, normal, when you work and you're done with a day, clean up. Okay, when you're demoing and you're done, clean up. You want to make sure that your area is always cleaned up, because sometimes you're not just going to destroy the whole building at once. You'll have rooms or different levels. So you want to make sure that if someone's walking through, everything is cleaned up, so there's no nails or boards that could hurt someone else, or if there's any holes that someone could fall through, obviously barricading those around. But yeah, we want to make sure that they're safe in cleaning this up, cleaning up your work area. Each section, so going about, okay, you demo one area, clean it up, then move to the next area. Demo, clean it up, move to the next area. Very important to see this so that you just don't get bogged down. And then also movability. If you have excavators and machinery knocking down stuff and it all comes down, okay, are you going to be able to get those machines in there and to clean stuff up, or is people going to be able to get in there? So making sure movability is very important in your area so that people can get around your stuff and continue demoing the area. And in this picture here, you see, do not rely on others to clean up. They won't. If you make the mess, just clean it up. Just be held accountable for your actions in your area, because this is the best way to keep people safe. So here are some of the demolition types. Obviously there's more, but these are the 2 main ways in commercial and in residential. So at first you can see explosives in the left here. Obviously this is the cool, or the way that most people would like to go about it, but this is just a small sample of people demoing buildings. Not too often are there explosives, but when they do, it's obviously a higher priority. And then of safety. And then on the right is machine wrecking. So this is your wrecking ball with crane, or your excavators and diggers using those machines. And then in residential, you just have your your normal sledgehammer and things like that. And also you can use excavators. These are the 2 main ways of demoing. Here in explosives, just think to take some things into consideration. The first picture on the left, okay, how is the building going to fall when you blow it up? On the left, it's called falling like a tree. So as you can see, the half of the building is going to collapse just like a tree falling over. When you knock it down, it's going to fall over, not just fall down. And it's important to know which type, because when you want to know your area and your work site. So is this building going to fall over into this next building or this next area that can't be touched? So knowing that you have a big enough work site. And then here on the right, you can see that this is called falling in its own location. So as you can see, this tower is just dropping down in the area that it was built. So it's not falling over. So these 2 different types of explosive results are important to know how your building is going to fall, because you want to protect others, you want to protect your area, and not destroy other things that aren't needed. Machine wrecking. So when people think of demolition, they think mostly the crane and the wrecking ball. Actually, this is only 1% of demolition, all demolition, because it's less controllable. I mean, think about it. You have a crane and you're just throwing a ball at a wall, and hopefully it comes down in the way you want it. So it's not the most ideal type of demolition, really not the safest, but yeah, it is still used. It is a quicker way of doing things, but it's not the safest. The most common use is excavators and bulldozers. Using this, you can easily know what area you're going to be knocking down. It's close range. But some of the safety measures you need to take when doing this is knowing your surroundings, knowing who's behind you, knowing which area you're going to take out. Because if you take out a wall, okay, is this going to collapse somewhere else? Just knowing your area. And then, yeah, these are normally for smaller projects, like residential, but they can be used in all types of demolition. Yeah, I've been talking about common sense kind of throughout this whole presentation, but this is crucial. PPE, obviously, safety glasses, respirator protection if there's asbestos, safety gloves, steel toe boots, safety helmet, ear protection, and high vis. Yeah, making sure that your workers have this PPE. Just like construction, you need this as you're demoing these areas out, because yeah, things can fall on you. Things can be in your area that you don't know. So just having this is crucial. Knowing your surroundings, knowing if there's debris going to fall on you, or is there any machinery around you, things like that. And then entering areas. Obviously, don't enter an area if it's being demoed, or don't enter an area that the surveyor said, okay, that's not structurally sound, that's going to collapse. Just being mindful of your area is, yeah, common sense, and this is a big way of mitigating the injuries that could happen on a demolition site. So here are kind of 101 demolition safety, 6 steps, and this is for a residential place, but it can be applied in all. So number 1, focus on one thing at a time. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. So just start with one area, then go to the next. Number 2, whether your demolition is interior or exterior, be sure to protect your home with plastic sheeting. And make sure, yeah, cover up your area, protecting that. Number 3, turn off any and all power within the work area. Yeah, when you're done, make sure that your area is free from tools that are plugged in. I mean, if you're destroying that, demoing that area, making sure that none of the cords could get cut, in electrocution and just things like that. Number 4, confirm what is behind the wall before swinging a hammer or excavating, knowing where you're going to destroy and what you're going to be destroying. Number 5, pick up as the demolition goes to keep your site clean. So as you move from one area to the next, make sure that you're doing it and cleaning it up so that people can move around and be safe. Number 6, make sure you're prepared for your project with the right tools. Obviously, you don't want to have explosives in a small house in the area with a lot of residents. Just being mindful of that. Here's kind of a graph to show in 1 year, I forget which year it was, but these are just kind of the injuries that happen. Collapse of building is the main thing. Fall from heights is next, and then struck by falling objects. And a lot of these things can be mitigated or not even happen if you start with your plan, your demolition plan, and knowing, okay, having these PPE, having common sense, not going into an area, having the structural surveyor know that the collapse of the building is not going to happen. So those are big things that we can avoid when in demolition. Here are some just accidents quick, which I think are important to see. What happens here in Cleveland. A 65-year-old was taking out an elevator shaft and it collapsed on him, and he died. Next was demolition in Philadelphia. A whole building collapsed. 6 people were killed, 14 were hurt. Demolition in Georgia. Equipment had fallen and struck a guy while they were demoing a place. So these 3 things, again, if they knew the elevator wasn't structurally sound, if they knew the building going in ahead wasn't structurally sound, okay, they could have worked around that rather than just going in and then it collapsing on them. And then just kind of having your PPE, equipment falling, knowing your surroundings, knowing where things are going to fall. These things could have been avoided, which is, yeah, why we are talking about demolition safety. So here's the main points again for a safer future in demolition. Number 1, just plan ahead, knowing what could happen, knowing your area and your work site. Number 2, making sure your type of demolition is suitable. Not using explosives for a small project, using hammers for residential, and things like that. Number 3, probably the biggest thing, common sense, PPE, knowing don't enter areas where you're not allowed, and things like that. So yeah, here are my sources, and this is the video about the demolition process. Just kind of goes in more about what I was talking about. Here you can click the link, or I have the link in our email, and yeah, it just goes into more about demolition. So yeah, hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe, and yeah, thank you.